Everything that we need in life is either already happening or on the way. The universe wants you to be at your highest level of comfort and peace because it has so much work for you to do. There is an answer with a capital A that is seeking to express itself. It's seeking you the way you're seeking it.
From To Be Magnetic, this is the Expanded Podcast with your host, Lacey Phillips.
And your host, Jessica Gill.
As the leading destination for neural manifestation, we dispel the woo-woo in order to help you create real, tangible results based on neuroplasticity, psychology, epigenetics, and energetics. Our goal is to normalize the practice of manifestation and empower you to get into the driver's seat of your life in order to manifest the experiences, relationships, and things that most align with your authenticity. And by pressing play, the process begins.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Expanded. Jessica here. I am so excited for today's guest, Marianne Williamson. She is a best-selling author, activist, spiritual philosopher, and teacher. She is just such a powerhouse and educator and speaker, especially in the Course in Miracles. She is truly someone who is channeling something that feels both within and beyond us. And this is one of the conversations I've had this year where, and I've had a few, but this was one that felt so somatically expansive that after talking with her and allowing the wisdom to settle into my body, I had this overwhelming sensation of purpose and excitement for the future. So I really hope that energy infuses into you in whichever way it needs to on your path of authenticity and for your highest good. I set the container before we recorded that everyone who listens to this really truly feels that deep sense of love and worthiness. And so check in a moment before you jump in and see if you can sit with that sensation, even if it's a little small part in your body somewhere. Can you feel into that and let it expand as you're listening to the episode? I also want to mention we talk a lot about the Mystic Jesus, one of Marianne's newest books, and this concept of religion and spirituality. And so many people have so many different paths and belief systems. So I would just encourage you to open your mind and see what resonates for you, what lands for you, what feels like it sparks curiosity for you. And take note of any pings that come through after listening to this episode. I know I had so many. Maybe just write them down, think about them for a second, let them simmer, digest, and see where it takes you on your manifestation path. Enjoy.
And now a word from our partners.
There is nothing that throws my day off more than bad quality sleep. I am groggy, I'm cranky, I cannot think straight, I have brain fog. It is not me being in my authentic self. And one thing that has supported me with my sleep every single time I've taken it is Ned's Mellow Magnesium. With so many different sleep products on the market, I really made sure to find something that was not only clean, totally backed by science and tons of research, but also didn't have a bunch of fillers and additives in it, which you see in so many products out there. Ned spent over 3 years just developing their best-selling Mellow Magnesium Super Blend. It's non-GMO, gluten-free, vegan, keto-friendly, third-party tested. All their lab results are posted on their website, including a detailed description of what each ingredient's function is within the blend. This is the kind of transparency I'm looking for if I'm going to take something regularly. And I have been on subscription with Ned now for at least 2 years. I can tell you wholeheartedly that my sleep is significantly improved on the nights that I take the mellow magnesium versus the nights that I don't. And in part, it's because of the GABA, the L-theanine, magnesium glycinate, which all help to relax the body and calm it down, but also because there's 2 other forms of magnesium in there that help your body replenish the minerals. It has 70 plus trace minerals in there. And I think when we're deficient in any of those minerals throughout the day, from sweating, from moving around, from just being active, not having them impacts our sleep and our cells on such a big level. I cannot say enough good things about this product. I am such a huge fan. And if you are someone who's looking to up your sleep game in any real way, this is the best of the best. Become the best version of yourself and get 50% off Ned products with code TBM15. Go to helloned.com/TBM15 or enter code TBM15 at checkout. That's HELLONED.com/TBM15 to get 15% off. Enjoy.
All right, on to the episode.
Today we have on the incredible Marianne Williamson. This is your second time on Expanded. I'm so excited to have you back. Lacey got to chat with you the first time, and then now we get to talk this time, and I'm so excited. And I set the container for this podcast for all of the audience and yourself and I to really tap into that energy of love that you talk so much about. So I hope you guys can all just kind of sit with that for a second in the intro, just in the beginning, and connect with that sensation of love, because it really will transform. Well, welcome, Marianne. I think everyone kind of sees you as this figure, this wisdom, sharing and embodying such incredible teachings of Jesus, teaching of love. And I think for so many people, it feels like unprecedented times. There's so much going on in the world. Every day there's a new thing to worry about or that could plant fear in us. I'm just so curious how you're living that moment to moment, how you're metabolizing things. And is there anything that you think is really important? Even just right now, is there one little practice that you're leaning on more than anything that's helping you?
Well, I'm a student of A Course in Miracles, so I do the Course in Miracles exercises every morning. Thank you for having me on, by the way. But, there's one truth, and it's spoken in many different ways. So I don't think there's any one particular form of meditation or one particular practice that is better than any other. But for myself, that Course in Miracles exercise every morning, today mine was My Holiness Blesses the World. In all the great religious and spiritual teachings that I've ever read about, there is this emphasis on the power of the morning. Because when you first wake up in the morning is when your mind is most open to new impressions. So sometimes we have the really pesky habit of going straight to the phone and to the tablet and checking out whatever it is on social media or on our own, or the news or whatever. That's really emotionally dangerous because we're taking in the chaos and the stress of the world. But if we will take even 5 minutes, the Course in Miracles says, to ground ourselves in that which is eternally true, foundationally true in the morning, align our consciousness with higher thought vibrations rather than lower, it makes all the difference. So I'm no different than anyone else. I experience that as deeply true, particularly right now with what's happening in the world. I think it's very difficult for people who don't have some kind of grounding in spiritual practice, because we are living in a time of chaos and we are living in a time of breakdown. And a lot is involved in alchemizing that energy into breakthrough. Do not be defeated by the breakdown, but to be a death doula and a birth doula. That you are responsible for the breakdown being harmless. It is necessary in many ways, and then giving birth to that which is new. We're not always undergoing experiences that we would have consciously chosen, but we're always at choice who we choose to be in the space of what's happening. And I think that that's the issue for all of us today. Am I the person that I need to be in order to be a transformational factor in circumstances that I find myself in, both in our own personal lives and in the world itself?
It's such an important reminder, I feel like, that we need to consistently come back to, because we can have moments of it and we're like, oh, okay, great. I feel like true in my energy. I feel true in my heart. I feel true in my actions and my word and in integrity. And then life happens or things happen and then you get pulled out of it again.
Yeah, the universe says, can you take that?
Yeah, right.
You were very calm last night. How about this morning? Yeah, no, I know all about that.
It's that constant alchemy. And you talk about in your more recent book, The Mystic Jesus, an opportunity where you had someone sort of talk negatively about you in a show, in a performance, and how the energy with which you reacted to that, how you chose and what energy you were in when you went to go confront them or talk to them about it made a world of difference. Can you talk about that, where it's like how to recognize when we are basically in the feeling state of things and when we're in the true essence and connection?
Well, it's exactly what you said is exactly my point, who I chose to be in the space of it happening. So it was in Los Angeles. It was years ago. And I went to see a play of a woman that I thought that I had been there for her professionally and personally, or at least I thought. And in the middle of the play, I don't remember what it was, but it was some snarky comment about me. I worked and lived in LA at that time, and I was embarrassed, I was humiliated, and I was also very hurt. And I was with a friend of mine who lives there, someone you actually might know. And he, as we walked out, he's a therapist and a coach. And he said to me, well, that must be tough if you want to talk about it this week. And I got in that moment a principle from the Course in Miracles that reminded me, Marianne, you are totally a choice how you play this. You can take your violin out, poor me, what she did to me. You can put yourself up on the cross. You could maybe even get some support. But there's a line in the Course, the Christ in you cannot be crucified. What that means is the light in you. There's a line in the Course where it says, you were not created to be at the effect of lovelessness within yourself or within others. So I had the choice to identify with the me that can have hurt feelings or the me that's so beyond that. And that is my choice in that moment. You're going to stay in the lower, what she said about me, or you're going to do, you can do that. You can play it that way. You can work it out with him in therapy, which is not to minimize that concept. But there's something about a direct descent when you say, I can choose a better way. I can choose another way. And I just had that thought in my mind, the Christ in you cannot be crucified. I went back in the theater because I said to him, before we go, I want to go to the ladies' room. So I walked back in the theater and I ran into a woman who I hadn't seen in several years. Hi, how you doing? How you doing? I said, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? I said, I came to see the show. What about you? She said, I'm the producer. She said, did you like it? Now, this is interesting because I had that thought. And if I had not had that thought, if I had not had just that moment, just that instant of realignment, I think I might have spoken differently. As it was, I said, yeah, my feelings were really hurt. Now, option A, option B. Option A, yeah, my feelings were really hurt. Option B, yes, and I don't think that was a very nice thing she said at all, or whatever. And she said, yeah, I'm really sorry about that. I had told her I thought she should take that line out. I'm really sorry. I don't blame you for being hurt. And I said, can you tell me what do you think I should do about it? And she said, I think you should write her an email. Anyway, I wrote her an email. And the point here is where I was in my consciousness. If I came from having felt attacked, I attacked back. No miracle there, guys. Instead, in the Course in Miracles, it says, in my defenselessness, my safety lies. And I just said my feelings were hurt. I thought I'd been there for you, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I spoke from my heart. The Course in Miracles says people hear you at the level you speak to them from. She apologized. She said, I know, it just seemed like such a funny joke, blah, blah, blah. And she took it out. Now, that's interesting, too, because any other way I would have handled it, I might have gotten some ego gratification, but she wouldn't have taken the line out. The place that I just described, I'm not there 24/7 any more than any of us are, like you said. Life throws curveballs at you. But that's also why it's so important to meditate in the morning. Because if you meditate in the morning, pray, whatever your practice is, that doesn't mean we're going to be an enlightened master throughout the day. But the chances of falling off the spiritual wagon are much greater. And even when we do, the chances of our being able to get right back up and right back on the wagon are much greater.
Yeah, it's like a muscle too. And I've noticed that as well. The mornings that even if I don't think I have time, even if I take 2 seconds while I'm, preparing my breakfast and just say, okay, I'm going to do this really intentionally.
That's
I'm going to open my
exactly right.
heart. Yeah, it makes a world of a difference. And now, even as you're describing it, it seems so simple, but harder in practice is when you start the day from that connection to spirit, connection to source, God, whatever you call it, that is your impetus for the rest of the day versus you are now plugged into some other programmatic system. If you don't start from that place, you're getting pulled by the ways of social media or your email or the kids, everyone else's energy. But if you can check in with yourself first, it's like, oh, there's your North Star. This is the energy I want to return to. Even if I get thrown off, this is the energy I want to return to.
Two things to that. First of all, that's really important what you said. If you just take an instant, even if you can't get yourself to sit for 5 minutes, that holy instant, an instant, it's just like turning off a computer, turn it back on. And the other thing is, there's an old Bob Dylan song, and the lyric goes, you're going to have to serve somebody. It might be the devil or it might be the Lord, but you're going to have to serve somebody. If you do not proactively set your intention to serve the light, the darkness of pathology, neurosis, anxiety, depression, and fear will be at you all day because it's your own mental energy. So if you don't set the intention and take control of your own mind and say, I want my mental energy to proactively be extending light, love, and peace and forgiveness today, that energy is going to go somewhere. So if it's not used by you because you're in the driver's seat here, and at least my intention and my availability and my willingness, knowing I'm a human being, so I'll probably get thrown off at times, but my intention is to go be a vessel of love this day, then you will be a container for all of the neurotic, pathological, fear-based thinking that is so prevalent in the world today, and which I think right now in the United States is particularly acute, and for good reason.
What is the way forward? Because I've had so many conversations with friends and family, and there's this existential fear and dread that so many people are feeling into, this quiet hum of, what are we at the precipice of? We feel the change coming. I think a lot of people are starting to feel that call in their hearts of like, I meant to help and do something bigger and better. I don't quite know what it is yet. I don't know how to alchemize it, but I feel it in my chest, in my heart, in my gut. What advice would you have for us there? I mean, what do you think's going on right now?
Well, first of all, I'm really glad to hear you say that you encounter so many people who feel that calling of the birth process. There is a line from Mahatma Gandhi. When Gandhi was asked, who is the leader of the Indian independence movement, he said, the small, still voice within. So you start with the idea that, as the Course says, God has an answer to every problem the moment that it appears. No one of us is assigned to take on the whole thing. You're assigned to take on what you're assigned to take on. I'm assigned to take on what I'm assigned to take on. Somebody else is assigned to take on what they take on. Now, it's not going to come in a FedEx box. It's going to be moment by moment, downloading to the best of your ability, the best that is you. And it will all unfold from there. It could be the way you raise your child in a certain instant. It could be a podcast in another instant. It could be reading a book. It could be a conversation with a friend. It could be something out there. It could be something in here. Just knowing that there's an answer with a capital A that is seeking to express itself. You can't figure it out, but you can make yourself fully available to the process. And that's what this meditation and realignment that you and I are talking about. I'm available today. Love, use me. Where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you say, have me say, and to whom? Now, that's very different than you with your self-will. I'm going to do this today, and I'm going to make that happen today. That it's radically different. It's I'm available to be used. There's a line in the Course also where it says, the people on the planet who have achieved the most have achieved a fraction of what each of us is capable of. So you just start with that. There's a power in me, but not of me, that can do things and make things happen I can't possibly figure out or will. I think the first step is admitting that this is bigger. This is a bigger problem than you can take on. And show the entire vortex of Western materialism as we can make it happen. So this is a very frightening time to many people because actually we can't make it happen. A lot of things are sewn up right now like we didn't think this would happen. That's forcing us to our knees. But our knees is exactly where we needed to be, in that place of humility and defenselessness and grace, which is the place where had we been there, we wouldn't be in the state that we're in now. So it's an extraordinary moment of opportunity that is calling all of us to not think about what it's going to be later, but in any given moment, dedicate ourselves to being the space of possibility, not only for ourselves, but for everybody around us.
Do you find that, and maybe this is balancing between the ego and the way in which you talk about the ego versus like the truth and God and love, but I'm noticing how our initial instinct to chaos or troubles or tests or triggers or anything that comes up in our life is immediate action plan control. Okay, that happened. Great. I'm going to retaliate. I'm going to respond. I'm going to act. I'm going to do this. And if we follow the initial instinct, it's usually rooted in fear. It's usually rooted in scarcity. It's usually rooted in, I have to protect myself. And it's like that sort of energy. But if we have the opening for a pause before, if we have that moment to allow in the light, if we have a moment to connect with our truth, to calm our nervous system, to regulate for a second, a more divine answer will actually transpire than whatever we're trying to create.
So the world that we live in is dominated by a thought system based on fear. And we are trained into that from a very early age. So the Course says from a very early point in your life, you instinctively go for the fear. You instinctively go for the unnatural thought. Feels more natural to you. And natural thinking, thought of love and openness feels unnatural to you. So that's why enlightenment is an unlearning. So where we are just living our lives is exactly what you just said. As the Course says, the ego speaks first and the ego speaks loudest. We immediately go for the attack thought. We immediately go for the control thought. We immediately go for what I want thought. We immediately go for the defensive thought, the reactive thought. But what you said, there's in the Bible, it's be still and know. In the Course in Miracles, it's called the holy instant. If you will just take an instant. I'm old enough. I've reached that age where you have a lot to look back on. And I think of some of the biggest mistakes I have made in my life. If I had only taken a pause. And especially today with social media, people have ruined their careers based on one tweet. It's like nobody has any impulse control right now. So cultivating quiet, there are books being written about it now, the attention grabber. Nobody has any impulse control where we just reaction as opposed to responsibility to ourselves and to others. That's why that preparation of our vessel is so important. Once again, though, if you did 5 minutes of that in the morning, you're going to have a much easier time remembering it when you find yourself in the space of the chaos of the world.
What would you say? We get this question a lot where people are like, I'm not getting any pings. I'm not getting any intuitive hits. I'm not getting any messages from source. What do I do? How do I navigate?
That a source is not an adrenaline high. That's not what source is about. Source is about a deep and continuous sense of peace. I'm sure some of the people who listen to your podcast, and you don't have to have had children to know that this is true, you're pregnant with a new possibility all the time. It's happening inside you. Your position in order to promote it sometimes is to just sit quietly with your feet up and have a cup of tea. So it might seem like, nothing's happening. A child is growing inside you. So the fact that you're not getting a ping, the universe is not adrenaline. It's not a sugar high. It's continuous nourishment. And that's what you find yourself attracted to, the deep and abiding peace. And then everything that we need in life is either already happening, and you either are seeing it or you're not seeing it, or on the way. So the prayer becomes, open my eyes that I might see, or calm me down that I might receive. Not only the things that I said before about how if only I'd paused, but also how could I have been so stupid that I didn't see that? When we say something comes from out of the blue, that means out of the quantum field. The miracle is not necessarily linear. So preparing within yourself, cultivating just receptivity, you never know. When somebody might say something or something might happen and it's this huge aha that you would never have expected. So those times in between the major action are very important times of rest, cultivation, nourishment. So like right now with the political situation, People are panicking. What do we do? What do we do? Cultivate that stillness within yourself. Nonviolent political philosophy is about cultivating the space within yourself to do whatever it is you need to do, but which right now you couldn't even know because you're not still enough to be able to hear that higher guidance.
I love this reframe too that you're sharing, because I think so many people, when they say they're not hearing their pings or their messages or higher guidance, they're looking for it. They're just active looking for it, like you're saying, but it's not about looking for it. It's about almost like preparing your vessel to be open to receiving.
Yeah, because otherwise you're saying, I hope God stops by.
Yeah.
And as my friend Mary says, there is no spot where God is not. This might be a moment of the inhale. It might be a moment of the exhale. No, that's why things like, Japanese flower arranging, things that make you see every moment. The only thing that could be missing is you.
I get a lot of questions about my skincare routine. And even though that is always changing, one thing that I've been really consistent with that has been helping so much is the Bond Charge Red Light Mask. Who knew the secret to glowing youthful skin isn't a cream or a serum or a spa treatment, but actually light? Bond Charge's Red Light Mask uses a potent blend of red and near-infrared light therapy that works to boost your collagen, reduce wrinkles, fight breakouts, and give your skin the glow from within in just 10 minutes a day. Personally, I'm lucky if I get it in 3 times a week, but I notice a massive difference on the weeks that I do. Even from one session, my skin feels so much glowier and dewier afterwards. Red light therapy is backed by science to stimulate skin's natural healing process. It increases circulation, supports firmer, healthier skin without any harsh chemicals or invasive treatments. It's safe, it's painless, and it's incredibly effective for all types of skin. And as someone who's looking to support their skin as they age in the most natural and holistic way possible, getting the Bond Charge Red Light Mask was an absolute must. Real results with no harsh chemicals, no downtime, no injections, just completely supporting the natural healing and collagen production of your skin. And for those of you who are noticing some fine lines added extra from looking down at our phones all the time, I know I'm so guilty of this. They actually have a specifically designed neck and chest mask as well that will help support it in the same way. You can actually use both at the same time for a full facial rejuvenation session. So if you'd like to try the Bond Charge Red Light Face Mask or their neck mask, you can use code MAGNETIC, all caps, MAGNETIC, for 15% off. Again, that's MAGNETIC, all caps, MAGNETIC, for 15% off. Go to bondcharge.com or check out the link in the show notes. That really resonates with this one aspect you said in the book too. We seek, but we do not want to find.
It's that line in the Course in Miracles. It says, the ego's dictate in love is seek, but do not find. Under the ego's guidance, we're always looking for love and we're always blowing it once we have it. That's the ego's guidance, to either be yearning for it or blowing it. Those are the only two things the ego knows how to do. Yearn for it or blow it, And the spirit doesn't yearn for it because the spirit just is, and yet the spirit knows how to handle it once it's here. Cultivating our capacity to receive is more important than our ability to make it happen. Now, there is a divine masculine. Just like we talk about divine feminine, there is a divine masculine too, which is go out there and make it happen. But the Course in Miracles says, beware the danger of self-initiated plans. There's a difference between taking the bull by the horns because you think it's a good idea and feeling an angel pushing you from behind. And when you feel an angel pushing you from behind, it's an effortless accomplishment. It just comes out of you. Why? Because you have cultivated your ability to receive it. And then it's something coming through you. And that, in the Course in Miracles, by the way, is the difference between magic and miracles.
Okay, speak more to that, because I think that is another thing that is helping people see the hope during this time as well, that miracles can be instantaneous. We can manifest the miracles in our life instantaneously if we're just open enough to receive it. And what does that look like?
Well, you say, what does it look like? But even asking what it looks like is implying form.
Okay.
The miracle is not form. The miracle is content. Sometimes it's what does it feel like? So the Course in Miracles says miracles occur naturally as expressions of love. So sometimes the miracle is simply, I don't even need to tell that story again. I'm done. Sometimes the miracle is, I really am going to call my mom. I need to. Sometimes the miracle is somebody, it's not just dynamic power, it's magnetic power. So the miracle is not necessarily something that other people would know meant a radical transformation in your life. Sometimes the miracle is, he's been over me for years. I've been carrying the weight of my obsession with him. I just wish him well, and I'm not thinking about him anymore. Other people wouldn't possibly realize, but for you, that's a miracle. That's a miracle. We're very mesmerized by the miasma of life, and it's a trickster. So it's more the experience. Now, sometimes it takes the form of outer manifestation, but if that outer manifestation was made through magic rather than created by miracles, it's a temporary appearance. It's an illusionary game, but it won't necessarily pave the path to the kind of profound, fundamental, foundational global opening.
Well, what I'm hearing you say in that too is, so the one angle, like if a manifestation comes through in the sense of, I would say it's through the lens of like inauthenticity, through the lens of forcing, through the lens of the ego. It's not our true self, but we thought we needed it, or we thought we wanted to hit this milestone. You can do that. It is possible to do that. And it is futile because it doesn't really matter ultimately. It doesn't give you what you were actually desiring, which was love, connection, hope, etc.
And the universe might have actually had a better idea in mind. I mean, once you realize that the universe wants you at your highest level of manifestation, your highest level of good, your highest level of happiness, sometimes you trying to make something happen got in the way and actually pushed aside what would have been a better possibility. But some of this is easier said than done. I mean, we have to be compassionate and merciful and have some humor about it, but it's true.
I think you have to go through the layers of it too. Like sometimes, especially when someone's ego is so attached to one story, one narrative of, no, but I must achieve this, I must achieve this. They have to run the cycle of achieving it to realize, oh my gosh, this isn't, then the miracle can happen where it's like, this wasn't what it was about at all. And now I can focus on my truth.
Well, okay, but let's look at that. Don't you think it's also good for us to share with one another? We don't have time for all that kind of silliness right now. Because miracles collapse time. The Course in Miracles says it's not up to you what you learn. It's merely whether you learn through joy or through pain. So yeah, we can do it like you said and go through the pain and then get there. But I think given the state of the world today, we're called to high priestess, not little girl.
What is that energy of the high priestess? Like, how do you see that? What does that feel like when you're embodying that?
We are not lured into the cheap drama. And usually it's because we've already had enough of it. Early in your life, you're kind of attracted to the cheap drama. And then you realize that it didn't bring me anything but pain. And like I said, you become more attracted to the deep peace. That's not when the drama stops. It's when the high drama begins. You're still a wild woman, but you're a wise wild woman. And you're dealing with the forces of wildness that are the forces of nature. But you are working with them. We have in our society, Jessica, I think we've had a very prolonged post-adolescence. You've probably been like at a table looking at people your age and noticing they're just a little more mature in the conversations they're having. We've stretched out youth too long. And I think that we've had this excitement about youth that has been because we haven't realized that energy can't be uncreated. So every age has its fabulousness. It's just a different chapter of fabulousness. And if you're holding on to a chapter that's not yours anymore, you're not able to experience the chapter that is. I think people, whether they know it or not, we're hungry for maturity right now. We're hungry for it. We're yearning for, like you said earlier, people saying to you, I think I was born for something important. Yeah, you were. And I used to say to people all the time, if you have this nagging suspicion you're wasting your life, it's because you are. Enough, 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 enough. If we don't get it right now, Jessica, global annihilation is a possibility. This is a very serious moment on the planet. But the fact that it's a serious moment on the planet doesn't mean we're not going to love. It doesn't mean we're not going to laugh. It doesn't mean we're not going to have fun, but from a deeper, wiser, more sober place. And the world desperately needs that from women, and the women of the Western world. We must show up now in order to feel good about ourselves. Wasting time on cheap drama right now, you can't possibly feel good. Life is too serious. The reason to not take yourself seriously is because life is so serious. Well, sometimes when you take yourself too seriously, you're not taking life seriously enough. It's a great gift to know it's not about you. And once you know it's not about you, then you subconsciously and automatically magnetize everything that you need to live at your highest. The universe wants you to be at your highest level of comfort and peace because it has so much work for you to do.
It's so funny. You finishing that thought was answering my exact question that was going to come through. But I had this experience with a friend in our community recently where she's feeling this calling to share and to teach in this way. And she's like, oh, I'm just so scared. My inner child is so scared. I feel like I have to do more work on myself. And I was like, no, do the work, but also step forth. I keep getting this feeling, this sensation that people think it's going to be so hard and they have to be so prepared before they can speak up. And it's almost like if you just take that one step forward, it's so much easier than you were even building up in your head. It's like you let the ego, the fear, take a hold from taking any action forward. If you take that one step, allow the miracle to come in and make it so much easier for you right now.
The presence of fear is a sure sign that you're trusting in your own strength. Not about you. You're not the water, you're the faucet. She was saying, I just don't think the water is good enough. Nobody said you're the water, you're the faucet. You're not the light, you're the lamp. And it doesn't matter the shape of the lamp, the size of the lamp, the color of the lamp, the form of the lamp. What matters is that the lamp is plugged in. God is the electricity. God is the light. You just plug in, make yourself totally available. And then you know it's something in you but not of you that doeth the work. There's a prayer in the Course that says, I don't have to know what to say or what to do. He who sent me will work through me. So like you said, do the work and then know that your subconscious mind, you do the work, you prepare yourself. And you only do go out there if something deep in you is saying, do it. I once heard Oprah once said to me, don't do anything unless every part of you says yes. But if every part of you says yes, the Holy Spirit works with your subconscious mind and just let it rip at that point.
You've heard us talk about our Pathway membership, but what actually is it? It is an all-access membership where you can get every single workshop that we've ever created, all of our deep imaginings, which are our reprogramming audios, to help you manifest. You can access it on the desktop or in the TBM app on your phone directly. We, of course, have our foundational workshops, such as our How to Manifest workshop, which takes you step by step through this neural manifestation process to actually unblock, expand, and take aligned action to connect with your manifestations. Our How to Be Magnetic workshop, our Inner Child and Shadow workshops. And then, of course, we have a workshop if you are in a rut, if you're in a rock bottom, if you're in an up level, perhaps you need to set boundaries. Maybe you want to focus specifically on the block of money or love. It is all in there. And then twice a year as a community, we gather for our challenges. Our challenges are one of the most effective parts of the process because you get accountability. It is really a handheld experience in how to work through whatever the theme of that year's challenge is. And now to my absolute favorite part of our membership, which I think in and of itself would be worth the entire weight of the membership if we just had this alone, our Deep Imagining library. This library encompasses over 60 neural reprogramming audio tracks. They're self-hypnosis tracks that will really support you in any step of this journey. If you're needing calming, nervous system regulation, unblocking with a specific test or trigger, going through a difficult time, processing a big emotion, or maybe you just want reinforcing, how to reinforce those neural pathways of confidence, abundance, self-worth, deservingness, and connection with your dream life. And not only that, if you go to the app, we just launched Deep Imagining playlists where we're grouping different themes of DIs together. So no matter what you're going through, you have something for you. And we're constantly dropping new playlists as well as brand new Deep Imaginings. And if you need more support in your process, you can go to our brand new video series, Channelings with Lacey, where she touches on the exact energetics that are going on right now in manifestation and how it may apply to your life. So obviously, I am a huge fan of this membership. The peace of mind I get from being able to have all the tools I need at my disposal, no matter where I'm at with my life, if shit's hitting the fan, if I'm feeling dysregulated, if I'm needing to come back to my center, if I'm needing to brainstorm or daydream or connect with what my vision for my future is, every single tool is in there to support me. And don't just take my word for it. We have thousands of testimonials of people who have had incredible success stories with these tools. So take the guesswork out of your manifestation process and get real tools that are going to give you real results. For podcast listeners only, you can use code EXPANDED, all caps EXPANDED, for 20% off your first month of the pathway. Join now and have your best year yet. I want to speak to the people that I know are likely in the audience who they're shifting their belief systems around spirit and source and religion. They may have had a very dogmatic upbringing around it. Maybe they identify with a different type of religion. And when we're talking about things like God, source, Jesus, all of this energy, they're putting them into human form boxes, right? Or limitations, or in a fear-based sense. How do you see the energy of Jesus? How do you see the energy of God?
Well, my first book is called A Return to Love, and it's sort of like the Cliff Notes of A Course in Miracles. And one of the things I talk about in that book is my own journey. I'm Jewish. I saw that Christian language. I was like, oh, no. I mean, I'd studied Christian theology in college as part of comparative religion, but this was personal. And I was like, oh, that's not, my mother always said, we don't read that book, honey. We read the other one. That was all I knew. So I saw that language. But then when I started reading it, I saw, oh, wow, this is not a religion, as the Course makes clear. These words are used in psychotherapeutic terms. The Course in Miracles says psychotherapy and religion at their peak are the same thing. So the spiritual revolution that's happening now is our capacity to recognize these great religious words, not just symbols, because they're not just words. They are forces of consciousness that move the cosmos. But they are facets and aspects of the mind. When you see, for instance, the Christ in you means that when your friend said the inner child, that's just a way to say Christ without offending anyone. So one person would say baby Jesus, another person would say the inner child. Just that innocent and newborn in any given moment and defenseless and yet all powerful. So I think where there is love, there is truth. Some people are finding it within more traditional religious context these days. Some people are finding it within non-religious spiritual, and some people are finding it within completely secular context. The truth is one, spoken in many different ways, whatever yours is. So some people listening to us right now know in their hearts, I found my practice, I just need to do it more regularly. Other people are feeling, that sounds true, I just don't know what teaching, I don't know what is for me. My message to that person is, just say a little prayer in your heart. Just ask, and within days, books will fall at your feet. Or a friend will invite you to a lecture or to a religious ceremony, something. It's seeking you the way you're seeking it.
I think that is something that's so powerful about what you share, what the Course in Miracles shares, is this ability of how often we forget that we have the ability to connect to spirit.
It's not just you have the ability to connect with spirit, it's that you don't have the ability to disconnect from spirit. You are an idea in the mind of God. You can't disconnect. You can just close your eyes. The Course in Miracles says you are like people in a very bright room, fingers in front of your eyes, complaining that it's dark in here. So it's not just you have the ability to connect. The issue is, who am I not forgiving? Who am I judging? Who am I blaming? Where am I not showing up? Where am I just thinking about myself? Where am I not being gracious in a space of transformation and possibility for the people around me? That's what it means to connect to source. Are you turning on the love? Or are you withholding? In every single moment, we're either opening or shutting. And every single moment we make that decision, we make it consciously or we make it subconscious. Think of it as this way. Think of the real you as an idea in the mind of God. You were made in the image of God. So think of your consciousness as a computer. There is an undeletable file in there. Marianne at her best. Marianne the enlightened. Marianne that's the image of God. But I've been trained not to choose that file. So I might bring down onto the screen Marianne the jerk, Marianne the needy, Marianne the controlling, Marianne the whatever. That's not the Marianne the truth. Now, the file, the undeletable file of Marianne completely self-actualized is still in the computer. I didn't choose her. So in any given moment, either forgiving somebody else or atoning for your own mistake. I get it now. And that's what all this discipline, the word disciple and the word discipline come from the same root. It's like yoga. You learn the correct position. You don't have to be advanced at it. Just get the correct position. And it's learning to position your mind. And when you say, I can't connect with source, well, who are you having a bitchy thought about? Who are you not forgiving? Where could you be more loving? We like to think of our relationship with God separate from our relationship with people. It's like the Les Mis line, to love another person is to see the face of God.
Touch more into this, because I feel like that is always an eye-opening reminder of, we think there's good and bad. That person did a bad thing and I don't like it, so I'm a good person, right? We create these walls, these barriers between us.
Well, that's why you and I talked about praying and meditating in the morning. Enlightenment is an unlearning of a thought system based on fear, and the ego is suspicious and vicious. Your pain is the ego's peak experience. So that part of the mind that is separate from God, you give it a chance. You don't turn on the light proactively, the darkness will be there. You don't turn the love on proactively, the fear will be there. And in today's world, you better believe it. So if you wake up in the morning, it's the ultimate in self-care. Align with it. Do the practice. It's no different than physical exercise. If you do it, it works. Yoga, if you do it, it works. But it's the yoga of the mind. But just like if you get to a certain age, if you're not holding those muscles up, they're headed down. Well, same with your thoughts. There's physical gravity. There's also psychological and emotional gravity. If you're not doing the work to hold your thoughts up, you're headed down into anger, fear, depression, anxiety. That's the emotional and psychological gravity. And that's what hell is. It's just the experience of what the ego does. So we've got to stop pretending like we're powerless in this. And that includes everybody who's listening. None of this, I just don't know how to do it. We do know how to do it. We do know how to do it. And we need to support ourselves in it. I feel strongly about this, Jessica. This goes back to, it's like Carolyn Mays talks about woundology. We've taken this, I'm a wounded bird. I have to heal myself stuff too far. And I say that as someone who wrote some of those books. So I know the value of doing the inner work and how we have to own our darkness. But Jessica, we also have to own our light.
Yes.
And we are too much in the habit of, are you okay? Of course we're not on a certain level and we're going to have to do our inner work. But we need to get more in the habit of, hey, Jessica, what incredible thing are you doing today? How can I help? Mm-hmm. Like when you said everybody feels like I think I'm supposed to do a great thing. That's what we need to be with one another. How can I lift you up today?
Yes.
We just need to change our social habits, and we need to coddle within ourselves and within each other this preciousness. I'm uncomfortable with that. It's gone too far. We now get in the habit of keeping ourselves infantilized, and that is not the goal of the inner work. The goal of the inner work is to strengthen us, not to weaken us.
I think that's so important to name, because the shift towards that energy, I think, came from a good intending place. You see the people suffering, you see them in pain, you see the real harm that's been done on a psychological level, and you say, I want to see you. I want to witness you in your pain. I want to witness you in your suffering so you don't feel alone, so you know you're okay, so you know you can heal. But we are at the place where it's like we cannot live there any longer. We have to be ready for the next evolution of self.
It's more deeply religious than that. The Course in Miracles says, look at the crucifixion, but do not dwell on it. He's on the cross for 3 days, not 6 days. The Israelites were 40 years in the desert, not 120 years in the desert. There's a saying, get off the cross, we need the wood. So what the ego would do is linger linger on the cross because the ego gets valued. What happened to me? The ego is very sly that way. There are seasons, and there's a quote from Rilke, "Let me not squander the hour of my pain." Truly honoring your pain is important, but it's like a bruise in the body. There also comes a time when the bruise heals. And when it comes to the body has its own inner mechanism. But in the mind, you have this diseased aspect, ego, that would, let's just linger in the area of this pain. After all, I'm getting some hits from it. Some people are like, I can get something out of this. And that's what I felt that day at that theater. Oh, you could play this. You could even post about it. You could get people to say, how dare she do that when you could play this, Marianne. That's what I mean, lingering in the realms of the cheap drama. And that doesn't mean still you won't have the human feelings, but you're intentional while you go through it.
It reminds me a lot too about the 4 agreements of being intentional with our word, intentional with our actions, how important that is every single moment. Thinking about that before you connect with your family, before you get into that argument, before you send that scathing email, whatever it is you do, how can you get into true integrity, not this connection with others where we're almost like feeding off their energy?
You are. It's not just almost like it. You are. And also this thing of how do we do it? We need to stop pretending you don't know how. Be still and know. Pray to be a vessel of love. You will have an entirely different nervous system. You'll have an entirely different personality.
I think it's also the power of self-forgiveness as well, because we are going to get it wrong sometimes, because we're going to step out in our not highest self version. We're going to step out and say the thing or be in the energy or feel whatever emotion we're going through and allowing it to project out. And we can always return back.
Well, that's what, you say return back. That's what in spiritual terms is the atonement. You go back, you own it, and you realize that in that moment, I did not let the Spirit of God move through me, and I can start again now. We become stronger when a bone is broken and it heals. It's stronger in that place.
Thank you so much for your wisdom today, Marianne. I mean, this has just been such an incredible conversation. I think it will really be the wake-up call for other people to really say, where am I not in integrity? Where am I holding on to old stories? Where am I not taking the action? Where am I not getting still? Where am I not listening to the truth? I just want to give this picture to people of when they do connect with that source energy, when they do connect with the frequency of love, it's the best sensation ever. And it is at your disposal and at your access at all times.
There are 2 things I would like to say to that, and thank you for having me on. First of all, it's always the person in front of you. We keep saying connect to the source. The source is in other people. So a lot of this connect to the source conversation still keeps it within you. The Course in Miracles says, don't look to yourself to find yourself. That's not where you are. You are in relationship, the higher you. So connecting to source means connecting to the perception of the innocence in whoever you're talking to or thinking about. There is no connecting to God without connecting to the innocence and the love in others. And the other thing I want to say, Jessica, is given the state of the world today, whatever practice, whatever ritual, whatever ceremony people are involved in, let's step it up. Like I said, the high priestesses were needed now.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I got chills. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. It was lovely being with you. And I hope I meet you in person sometime.
Yes, same. I hope you guys felt that initiation percolating within you in this conversation. And if you want to cement it deeper, or if you want to get clarity on what your version looks like, I would recommend popping into the TBM app and checking out the Embodied DI so you can really connect with what your soul's essence feels like beyond a material plane. What does your true soul feel called to do, to speak in? What energy is it? Who are you truly? The Embodied DI is going to be so great for that. And if you already have clarity of that, but you want to kind of ground it in deeper, or you have a specific vision or action you want to take in this world, I would do our Plant the Seed DI. It's short and sweet, but allows you to take in a concept and bloom it into the earth, but also into your subconscious of its possibility of coming to fruition. Happy reprogramming.